The conference room was silent except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Rachel sat at the far end of the polished mahogany table, her hands clasped tightly together, knuckles white with tension. Across from her, CEO Marcus Langley leaned back in his chair, a smug smile playing on his lips as he delivered the news that would shatter her world. "Rachel, it's nothing personal," he began, his voice dripping with insincerity. "But we need to cut costs, and your position, well, frankly, it's become redundant." Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing like a drum roll of disbelief. 32 years she had dedicated to this company, rising through the ranks from an entry-level position to senior vice president. She had poured her soul into every project, mentored countless young professionals, and helped steer the company through its most challenging times. And now, at 64 years old, she was being discarded like yesterday's newspaper. "I don't understand," Rachel managed to say, her voice trembling. "My department has been consistently profitable. We just secured that major client last quarter, the one you took credit for in the shareholders' meeting." Langley waved his hand dismissively, not even bothering to meet her eyes. "These are difficult decisions, Rachel. The board feels we need fresh blood, new ideas. You've done great work, but—" He let the sentence hang in the air, unfinished but devastating nonetheless. Fresh blood. New ideas. The words stung more than any insult could. She wasn't some outdated relic of corporate history. She was still sharp, still innovative, still capable of leading teams to success. But none of that mattered to Langley, who had been brought in only 6 months ago with promises of turning the company around. His turnaround strategy apparently involved dismantling everything that had made the company strong in the first place. As she gathered her belongings later that afternoon, memories flooded back: her first day in the mailroom, the thrill of her first promotion, the pride when she became the first woman to join the executive team. The walls of her office seemed to close in around her, each framed award and certificate mocking her with their hollow victories. Walking out of the building for what might be the last time, Rachel felt the weight of failure pressing down on her shoulders. Colleagues she had mentored avoided her gaze, pretending to be busy with their phones or documents. Only Margaret from accounting gave her a sympathetic smile, but even that small gesture couldn't lift the crushing sense of betrayal. That night, sitting alone in her apartment with a glass of wine she didn't really want, Rachel scrolled through LinkedIn absent-mindedly. Her finger hovered over the update profile button, but she couldn't bring herself to click it. What would she even write? Senior Vice President, until they decided I was too expensive to keep around? Instead, she found herself reading about Langley's background. Harvard MBA, worked at several tech startups, known for his aggressive cost-cutting measures. The pattern was clear: wherever he went, long-time employees disappeared, replaced by younger, cheaper labor. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about erasing history, wiping away institutional knowledge in favor of shiny new faces who would do anything to please their new boss. As the hours ticked by, anger began to replace shock. How dare they treat her this way after all she'd done? How dare Langley sit there, smirking, while he destroyed lives and careers? The company had been her second home, her family. And now she was being cast out like an unwanted child. The next morning, Rachel woke up with a peculiar clarity. She wouldn't let them win. She refused to become another statistic, another victim of corporate greed. But revenge wasn't enough. She needed to prove something, to herself and to everyone who had doubted her value. The question was how. Sitting at her kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee, Rachel began sketching out ideas. Her experience was vast, her network extensive. There had to be a way to turn this situation around, to build something even better than what she'd lost. As the sun rose higher in the sky, a plan started taking shape in her mind, one that would require all her skills, all her courage, and perhaps a touch of genius. She opened her laptop and started typing, her fingers moving faster than they had in years. This wasn't just about getting even, it was about creating something meaningful, something that would make them regret ever letting her go. The seed of an idea was planted, and already she could feel it growing roots deep within her soul. Rachel spent the following weeks transforming her dining room into a command center, maps and notes covering every available surface. Her first move was reaching out to former colleagues who had similarly fallen victim to Langley's restructuring. To her surprise, many were eager to join forces, their resentment simmering just below the surface. Together, they formed an informal network, sharing information and resources. The real breakthrough came when she connected with Michael Chun, a brilliant software engineer who had left the company years ago to pursue his own projects. Over coffee at a quiet cafe, he listened intently as Rachel outlined her vision. When she finished, he sat back, tapping his fingers thoughtfully against his mug. "You know," Michael said finally, "there's a gap in the market that no one's addressing properly. Enterprise solutions that actually respect user privacy and employee autonomy. Most companies just slap some security features on top of existing systems and call it a day." His words sparked something in Rachel's mind. They weren't just talking about competing with her former company, they were discussing revolutionizing the entire industry. That night, she couldn't sleep, her mind racing with possibilities. By dawn, she had drafted a preliminary business plan that would soon become their blueprint. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Rachel mortgaged her house, invested her savings, and convinced several former executives to join her cause. They set up shop in a modest co-working space, working long hours fueled by takeout coffee and shared determination. The energy was electric, each team member bringing their unique expertise to the table. Their first product, Integrity OS, focused on creating a transparent, ethical enterprise platform that prioritized both employee well-being and data security. Unlike traditional systems that treated workers like mere cogs in a machine, Integrity OS empowered users with control over their data and workflow. The interface was intuitive, the reporting honest, and the privacy features ironclad. Word spread quickly through professional networks about this new player in the market. Several mid-sized companies, disillusioned with existing options, signed on as early adopters. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Employees loved having more control over their work environment, while managers appreciated the genuine productivity insights rather than manipulated metrics. Meanwhile, Rachel kept a careful eye on her former company. Through her network, she learned that Langley's cost-cutting measures were beginning to show their true colors. Morale was plummeting as experienced staff left or were pushed out, and the remaining workforce struggled under increased pressure with fewer resources. Projects were falling behind schedule, and clients were starting to notice the decline in service quality. One particularly satisfying piece of information came from Margaret, who had maintained contact despite the awkwardness of their positions. Apparently, Langley had taken credit for implementing a suggestion system that Rachel herself had originally proposed years ago. The irony wasn't lost on either of them, though they communicated primarily through subtle nods and knowing smiles during chance encounters at industry events. As summer turned to fall, Rachel's company began gaining serious traction. Venture capitalists who had initially dismissed her as past her prime suddenly became interested when they saw the numbers. Revenue projections were beating expectations, and customer retention rates were through the roof. During one particularly memorable pitch meeting, a young investor who had once interned under Rachel exclaimed, "This is exactly what the market needs right now." The media started taking notice too. Business publications ran features on the gray-haired disruptors, shaking up the tech industry. Journalists loved the David versus Goliath narrative, especially when they learned about Rachel's history with her former employer. Interviews poured in, each one providing another opportunity to showcase their revolutionary approach to workplace technology. Through it all, Rachel maintained her focus. Revenge was sweet, but building something meaningful was sweeter. She watched with satisfaction as more former colleagues joined their mission, bringing with them decades of combined experience. Each new hire felt like reclaiming a piece of what had been lost, rebuilding not just a company but a community. By November, they were ready to launch their second product, a comprehensive analytics suite that provided unprecedented transparency into organizational health. Unlike other tools that encouraged micromanagement, their solution fostered trust and collaboration. Early beta testers reported dramatic improvements in team dynamics and productivity. Yet amidst the success, Rachel remained acutely aware of the bigger picture. This wasn't just about proving Langley wrong, it was about demonstrating that business could be conducted differently. That experience and wisdom still held immense value in an age obsessed with youth and disruption. Every new contract, every satisfied customer, every glowing review was another brick in the foundation of this new philosophy. As the holiday season approached, Rachel found herself reflecting on how far they'd come in such a short time. Their modest co-working space had expanded to fill an entire floor, and expansion plans were already underway. More importantly, they had created something genuinely transformative, a workplace culture that valued people over profits, ethics over expediency. The boardroom of Langley's company had grown increasingly tense as quarterly reports painted a grim picture of declining performance. Despite his confident demeanor during meetings, Rachel knew from her sources that panic was setting in. The very strategies he had implemented to boost short-term profits were now strangling the company's future growth. Younger employees lacked the institutional knowledge to navigate complex projects, while remaining veterans operated in survival mode, their loyalty shattered. During an industry conference in January, Rachel found herself scheduled to speak immediately after Langley's keynote address. As she waited backstage, she could hear him struggling to explain away the company's recent setbacks. His voice carried a hint of desperation as he promised investors that things would turn around any day now. The audience's skeptical murmurs were audible even through the thick velvet curtain. When Rachel stepped onto the stage, the contrast was striking. Where Langley had appeared defensive and evasive, she radiated calm authority. Her presentation focused not on attacking her former employer, but on showcasing how Integrity OS had revolutionized workplace dynamics for dozens of companies. Real-time demonstrations displayed how their platform identified potential issues before they became crises, fostered genuine collaboration, and maintained complete transparency in decision-making processes. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, many attendees already accessing the conference Wi-Fi to explore demo accounts on their devices. During the Q&A session, questions poured in about implementation strategies and scalability. When one brave soul asked about comparisons to existing systems, Rachel handled the inquiry with diplomatic precision. "While I can't comment specifically on my previous employer's current challenges," she said, maintaining eye contact with Langley, who was watching from the front row, "I can share that our approach focuses on sustainable growth rather than short-term gains. Experience teaches us that cutting corners, whether in development or human capital, always comes at a price." The barb landed perfectly, earning appreciative chuckles from those familiar with the situation. Langley shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his earlier bravado noticeably diminished. After the session, several high-profile attendees approached Rachel to discuss potential partnerships, including representatives from companies currently using her former employer's services. Back at Integrity OS headquarters, the team celebrated their latest milestone, securing a major contract with a Fortune 500 company that had grown frustrated with Langley's firm's inability to deliver consistent results. The deal represented not just financial success, but validation of their entire philosophy. Employees gathered in the open-plan office, champagne flutes in hand, as Rachel addressed the growing crowd. "This isn't just about winning contracts or outperforming competitors," she declared, her voice carrying across the celebratory hum. "It's about proving that ethical business practices and technological innovation can coexist. That experience and wisdom remain invaluable assets in our industry. And most importantly, that treating people with respect and dignity isn't just good karma, it's good business." The speech energized the team, sparking impromptu brainstorming sessions about future developments. In the corner, Michael Chun was already sketching ideas for integrating artificial intelligence in ways that enhanced human capabilities rather than replacing them. Nearby, Margaret, who had officially joined the company after her former department imploded, was mapping out training programs that emphasized mentorship and knowledge sharing. Rachel watched these interactions with quiet satisfaction, noting how seamlessly veterans and newcomers collaborated. Their diversity of experience created a powerful synergy, generating solutions neither group could have developed alone. This was the workplace culture she had always envisioned, one that valued contributions regardless of age or background, where innovation emerged from mutual respect rather than competition. As February arrived, financial reports confirmed what everyone had suspected. Langley's cost-cutting measures had resulted in a talent exodus so severe that key projects were grinding to a halt. Major clients, frustrated by missed deadlines and declining quality, began seeking alternatives. Ironically, many found themselves drawn to Integrity OS, attracted by its reputation for stability and excellence. Rachel received regular updates from her network, detailing internal chaos at her former company. Departments operated in silos, communication broke down, and morale hit rock bottom. Younger employees, promoted beyond their capabilities, struggled to manage teams of equally inexperienced workers. The few remaining senior staff spent more time firefighting crises than strategizing for the future. During a particularly telling conversation with Margaret, Rachel learned that Langley had begun revisiting proposals he had previously dismissed, including several initiatives she had championed during her tenure. The irony wasn't lost on either of them, though Rachel maintained her focus on building rather than gloating. Still, she couldn't help but feel vindicated when reports surfaced of Langley's increasing isolation within the executive team. The media narrative shifted accordingly, with business analysts questioning whether Langley's approach represented a fundamental misunderstanding of corporate dynamics. Articles began appearing with headlines like "Experience Matters," "Why Cutting Costs Can Cost You Everything," and "The Wisdom Dividend," "How Veteran Leadership Drives Innovation." Several pieces drew direct comparisons between the two companies, highlighting how IntegrityOS's success demonstrated the value of retaining institutional knowledge. As spring approached, Rachel found herself invited to speak at prestigious venues worldwide. Each appearance served multiple purposes: promoting their products, sharing their philosophy, and quietly recruiting top talent disillusioned with conventional corporate structures. The movement they had started was gaining momentum, transforming from a single company's success story into a broader industry shift. Investment offers poured in, but Rachel maintained strict control over who joined their journey. She wanted partners who understood and supported their mission, not opportunists looking for quick returns. This selective approach earned them respect among venture capitalists, who recognized that IntegrityOS represented something rare in today's market, a company with both strong values and exceptional performance. The team continued to grow, attracting professionals from various industries who shared their vision. Many were refugees from similar situations, experienced workers forced out by short-sighted management decisions. Others were younger talents disillusioned with toxic corporate cultures. Together, they formed a powerful coalition, united by the belief that business success and ethical practices weren't mutually exclusive. Rachel's leadership style evolved organically, drawing from both her past experiences and the collective wisdom of her diverse team. Weekly town hall meetings encouraged open dialogue, while cross-departmental projects fostered understanding between different generations and backgrounds. Performance reviews focused not just on individual achievements, but on contributions to team success and adherence to company values. Perhaps most rewarding was the emergence of natural mentorship relationships throughout the organization. Veterans shared hard-won lessons with eager newcomers, while younger employees introduced fresh perspectives and digital native skills. This exchange of knowledge created a virtuous cycle of continuous improvement, driving innovation while preserving essential institutional memory. As IntegrityOS prepared to celebrate its first anniversary, Rachel reflected on their journey with profound gratitude. They had built something remarkable, not just a successful company, but a model for how business should be conducted. The industry was taking notice, and change was rippling outward, affecting companies far beyond their immediate sphere of influence. In the midst of their rapid growth and industry impact, Rachel faced a series of pivotal moments that would test her resolve and shape the future of IntegrityOS. One late afternoon, as the golden light of sunset streamed through the office windows, she found herself in an unexpected meeting with Alexander Grant, a legendary figure in the tech investment world known for his uncanny ability to spot transformative companies early. Grant's presence in their modest conference room sent waves of excitement through the team, but Rachel remained composed, sensing that this meeting was about more than just funding. As they discussed IntegrityOS's trajectory, Grant surprised her by proposing not just a substantial investment, but a strategic partnership that would position them to compete directly with her former company on a global scale. The offer was tempting, almost intoxicating in its promise of accelerated growth and industry dominance. Yet as Rachel walked home that evening, the city lights reflecting off rain-slicked streets, she wrestled with conflicting emotions. Accepting Grant's proposal would mean stepping onto a path of aggressive expansion, potentially compromising some of the core values that had made IntegrityOS so successful thus far. The dilemma crystallized during a subsequent meeting with their advisory board, where opinions divided sharply. Some argued that this was their moment to strike, to claim their rightful place at the top of the industry hierarchy. Others, including Michael and Margaret, cautioned against sacrificing their unique identity for the sake of rapid growth. The debate grew heated, with valid points emerging from both sides. Rachel's private conversations with key team members revealed deeper concerns. Longtime employees worried about losing the collaborative culture they had worked so hard to build. Younger staff members, eager to prove themselves, pushed for aggressive expansion. Each perspective carried weight, each argument valid in its own right. The turning point came unexpectedly during a routine client visit. A middle manager at one of their earliest adopting companies shared how IntegrityOS had transformed not just their operations, but their entire organizational culture. Employees who had once dreaded coming to work now thrived in an environment that valued their contributions. The story resonated deeply with Rachel, reminding her why they had started this journey in the first place. That night, surrounded by notebooks filled with pros and cons, financial projections, and philosophical musings, Rachel realized the answer lay not in choosing between growth and values, but in finding a way to harmonize them. She began drafting a new vision statement, one that acknowledged the need for expansion while establishing clear boundaries to protect their core principles. The resulting framework, which she presented to the team the following week, proposed a hybrid model of growth. They would accept grants investment but structure it in phases, each contingent upon maintaining specific cultural and operational benchmarks. New markets would be entered gradually, allowing time for proper integration and cultural alignment. Perhaps most controversially, Rachel suggested implementing a values veto system, where any major decision requiring unanimous approval from a council representing different stakeholder groups. The proposal sparked intense discussions throughout the company, with every department contributing ideas and concerns. IT specialists raised technical challenges, HR highlighted potential staffing implications, and marketing pointed out branding considerations. Each obstacle became an opportunity for innovation, leading to creative solutions that strengthened rather than compromised their original vision. As spring blossomed into summer, the finalized growth strategy emerged as a testament to collaborative problem-solving. They would expand, but on their terms, with integrity guiding every step forward. Clients responded positively to their approach, seeing in Integritos a partner committed to sustainable success rather than reckless ambition. Meanwhile, Langley's company continued its downward spiral, now facing shareholder revolts and potential regulatory investigations. Industry insiders whispered about imminent restructuring, possibly even bankruptcy. Rather than feeling vindicated, Rachel found herself contemplating the human cost of such failure, the careers disrupted, the families affected, the institutional knowledge lost forever. This realization prompted her to initiate a discreet outreach program, identifying talented individuals from her former company who might thrive in Integritos' culture. The program wasn't about poaching talent, but about offering refuge to those caught in the crossfire of poor leadership decisions. Each new hire brought not just skills but stories, enriching the tapestry of their growing organization. The media narrative shifted again, with journalists recognizing that Integritos represented more than just a successful startup. Articles began exploring how their approach to growth challenged conventional wisdom about scaling businesses. Business schools incorporated their case studies into curricula, while industry conferences featured panels discussing the Integritos effect on corporate culture. As autumn approached, bringing with it the promise of new beginnings, Rachel stood at her office window watching employees arrive for work. Some were industry veterans who had weathered similar storms, others fresh graduates eager to make their mark. All shared a common purpose: to demonstrate that business success and ethical practice weren't mutually exclusive concepts. The road ahead remained uncertain, with challenges inevitable as they navigated their carefully planned expansion. Yet Rachel felt a profound sense of peace, knowing they had established strong foundations, not just in technology and market position, but in values that would guide them through whatever lay ahead. Their journey had transformed from personal redemption into something far greater, a movement reshaping how people thought about work, leadership, and success itself. In the quiet moments between meetings and strategy sessions, Rachel often found herself reflecting on the nature of power and influence. Success had given her a platform, but it was the responsibility that came with it that truly defined her leadership. Each decision carried weight, not just for her company but for an industry watching and learning from their example. The relationship with her former company had evolved into something complex and multifaceted. While Langley's position grew increasingly precarious, Rachel resisted the temptation to gloat or publicly criticize. Instead, she focused on documenting their journey, sharing lessons learned through speaking engagements and published articles. These narratives emphasized not their superiority but the importance of preserving institutional knowledge and respecting employee contributions. Industry dynamics were shifting in response to Integritos' success. Competitors began adjusting their approaches, some genuinely embracing more ethical practices, while others merely paid lip service to similar values. Regulatory bodies took notice, initiating discussions about establishing industry standards for workplace technology and corporate governance. Rachel found herself invited to participate in these dialogues, her voice carrying significant weight in shaping future policies. Within Integritos, the culture continued to evolve organically. New traditions emerged alongside established practices, creating a rich tapestry of shared experiences. Monthly wisdom exchanges paired veterans with newcomers for knowledge-sharing sessions, while innovation days encouraged cross-generational collaboration on experimental projects. These initiatives fostered understanding and mutual respect, breaking down barriers that traditionally separated different career stages. Financial success brought its own challenges. As their valuations soared past expectations, pressure mounted to maintain growth rates that aligned with investor expectations. Rachel navigated these waters carefully, resisting the urge to sacrifice long-term sustainability for short-term gains. Quarterly earnings calls became masterclasses in balancing transparency with strategic discretion, communicating both their achievements and their commitment to core values. Personal growth mirrored the company's evolution. Rachel discovered new dimensions of leadership, learning to delegate more effectively while maintaining her role as cultural guardian. Her relationships with team members deepened, becoming less hierarchical and more collaborative. Even her approach to conflict resolution transformed, focusing on understanding underlying motivations rather than simply addressing surface issues. The industry's transformation accelerated as other companies began emulating aspects of IntegrityOS's approach. Some efforts were sincere attempts at reform, while others amounted to superficial changes designed to appease critics. Regardless of intent, the cumulative effect created ripple effects throughout the business world. Job seekers began prioritizing company culture alongside compensation packages, forcing even resistant organizations to reconsider their practices. Media coverage reflected these changes, with narratives shifting from competitive drama to broader discussions about workplace evolution. Documentaries explore the intersection of technology and human values, while investigative reports examine the long-term impacts of different corporate philosophies. Rachel found herself at the center of these conversations, not as a protagonist in a revenge story but as a catalyst for meaningful change. As winter approached, bringing with it the end of their second year in operation, IntegrityOS prepared for its next phase of growth. Expansion plans included international offices, each designed to reflect local cultures while maintaining core principles. Partnerships with educational institutions aimed to develop curriculum that bridged generational gaps in workplace expectations and technological understanding. The boardroom where Rachel had received her termination notice now symbolized something different, a reminder of how far they had come and how much further they could go. During industry conferences, she sometimes crossed paths with former colleagues from her previous life, their interactions marked by mutual respect rather than bitterness. Even Langley, whose company teetered on the edge of collapse, occasionally nodded acknowledgement during chance encounters. Looking toward the future, Rachel recognized that their journey was far from complete. Challenges would continue to emerge, requiring constant adaptation and reinvention. Yet she felt confident in their ability to face whatever came next, armed with experience, values, and a growing community committed to changing the face of modern business. The transformation extended beyond their immediate sphere of influence, touching lives and careers far removed from their daily operations. Former employees of Rachel's previous company, inspired by IntegrityOS's success, began pushing for change within their own organizations. Some initiated grassroots movements advocating for better work-life balance and more ethical business practices. Others used their experiences to counsel struggling companies on avoiding similar pitfalls. Industry conferences evolved to reflect these changes, with panel discussions increasingly focusing on sustainable growth models and ethical leadership. Young entrepreneurs approached Rachel seeking advice not just on business strategy, but on maintaining integrity while navigating corporate politics. Each interaction reinforced the realization that their impact extended far beyond market share or profit margins. As IntegrityOS prepared to enter its third year, Rachel found herself mentoring a new generation of leaders, helping them navigate the complex landscape of modern business. These sessions often took place in their expanding training facilities, where walls displayed quotes from employees about how the company had changed their perspective on work and success. The space had become a living testament to their philosophy, attracting visitors from companies worldwide seeking to understand their approach. The evolution of workplace technology followed suit, with competitors incorporating elements of IntegrityOS's design philosophy into their own products. User-centric interfaces, transparent algorithms, and privacy-first architecture became industry standards rather than differentiating features. While some viewed this as a threat to their competitive advantage, Rachel saw it as validation of their vision spreading beyond their immediate influence. Internal dynamics continued to mature, with veteran employees taking on mentorship roles and newer staff members contributing fresh perspectives. The company's hiring process evolved to emphasize cultural fit alongside technical skills, ensuring that growth didn't dilute their core values. Performance evaluations incorporated metrics for collaboration and knowledge sharing, reinforcing their commitment to collective success. Financial success enabled investments in research and development, exploring how emerging technologies could enhance rather than replace human capabilities. Projects investigating the intersection of artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence gained particular attention, promising to revolutionize how organizations approach talent development and workplace dynamics. These initiatives attracted partnerships with academic institutions and government agencies interested in responsible technological advancement. The media narrative shifted again, with coverage moving beyond business success to examine broader social implications. Articles explored how IntegrityOS's approach addressed issues like age discrimination in the workplace, mental health awareness, and sustainable career development. Policymakers began consulting with Rachel on crafting legislation that balanced innovation with worker protection, recognizing the practical insights gained from their experience. As spring approached, bringing with it renewed energy and possibility, Rachel found herself contemplating the concept of legacy. Their achievements had transformed from personal triumph to industry movement, influencing how corporations approached everything from talent management to technological implementation. Yet she understood that true success lay not in what they had built, but in what would continue to grow and evolve after they moved on. The company's physical spaces reflected this maturation, with offices designed to facilitate both structured collaboration and spontaneous interaction. Walls displayed rotating exhibits of employee artwork and innovation projects, while common areas hosted regular events featuring speakers from diverse fields. These environments became incubators for ideas that transcended traditional business boundaries, connecting technological advancement with humanistic values. Looking toward the horizon, Rachel recognized that their greatest challenge lay in maintaining momentum while adapting to inevitable changes. The business landscape continued to shift, with new technologies and social dynamics constantly reshaping expectations and opportunities. Yet she felt confident in their ability to navigate these waters, guided by principles that had proven their worth through both success and adversity. The transformation they had initiated rippled outward, affecting how people thought about work, leadership, and organizational culture. Former skeptics became advocates, spreading their philosophy through their own networks and endeavors. Industry veterans who had once dismissed their approach as naive now acknowledged its effectiveness, incorporating elements into their own leadership styles. As IntegrityOS prepared for its next phase of growth, Rachel understood that their journey represented something larger than any single company or individual. They had become part of a broader movement toward more humane and sustainable business practices, demonstrating that success and integrity could coexist and even reinforce each other. The path forward remained unwritten, but the foundations they had built promised to support whatever challenges lay ahead.